Let's challenge a common perception. When you think of an emperor's harem in ancient China, you probably imagine a huge harem of female consorts. But what if that's only half the story? What if some emperors found their love and affection not with women, but with men? While this may seem contradictory to the patriarchal system, hints of same-sex affection in the imperial court date all the way back to the spring and autumn period. However, it was during the Han Dynasty that these relationships became more clearly documented. And here's where it gets interesting. These relationships were never an official part of the imperial system. Instead of an official role or position, we see the introduction of the informal term 男宠, which means male favorite or male concubine. This wasn't a rank in the palace hierarchy, it was a descriptor for a personal, unofficial bond. In the Han Dynasty, same-sex relationships weren't considered morally wrong or illegal. Chinese emperors were expected to uphold Confucian ideals, ensure the continuity of their lineage, and have male heirs. As long as these duties were met, an emperor's private affection were largely his own business. If there was criticism, it was about the male concubine's power and political interference, or the emperor neglecting his duties. The actual relationship wasn't the issue. The records of the Han Dynasty gives us many compelling male concubine stories. It gives us a male concubine that was found through a dream, and even a male concubine that becomes the second most powerful person in the entire empire, who accidentally contributed to the fall of the entire Western Han Dynasty. Hey everyone, I'm Amy. In today's video, we're uncovering the system, or lack thereof, of male concubines in the Han Dynasty. Let's start with what makes the role of a male concubine unique and fundamentally different from any other role in the Han Dynasty imperial court. Unlike female imperial consorts, male concubines had no official status, no guaranteed stipend, and no formal benefits. They did not officially hold any male concubine titles within the harem hierarchy. Their benefits and power came directly from the emperor's favorite. It is also important to distinguish male concubines from eunuchs, another group of men close to the emperor. Imperial eunuchs were castrated men whose primary purpose was to serve the imperial palace, and were a part of the official court system. While there are records of eunuchs that became male concubine, I wanted to point out that they are fundamentally different. If you're interested in learning more about imperial eunuchs, I previously made a video about the rise of eunuchs in the Han Dynasty. Recently, I saw a number of videos that presented heavily fabricated or unsubstantiated claims about the male concubines in ancient China, and I wanted to address and clarify some of the more outlandish points. First of all, claims of young boys being systematically bought for sexual purposes in the imperial palace, and that male concubine training camps existed where they were beaten and conditioned, are entirely made up. I have found no historical evidence for any organized system like that in any periods of Chinese imperial history. Could individual cases of abuse have happened? What about outside the palace, in private households among the wealthy or elites? Possibly. There are certainly records of ancient brothels and entertainment houses outside of the palace that involved trafficking, abuse, and forced sexual labor. But there is no evidence of any organized system within any imperial palace. Now, it's true that some boys entered the palace service as slaves or eunuchs, often under desperate conditions, especially during famines. But that is very different from the claim that boys were deliberately trafficked into the palace for sexual purposes. These claims sound a lot more like modern human trafficking stories, which simply does not reflect what we actually know about male concubines in Chinese history. Similarly, other claims about abuse, starvation, and psychological torture for male concubines are also not true. While palace life could be difficult or politically dangerous, these extremes were not supported by historical documents for male concubines. Sadly, some of these claims could actually be applicable for female concubines or consorts. There were certainly periods in Chinese history where women were forced into the imperial palace for sexual service. These tragic stories deserve their own full exploration, which maybe I can cover in another video. Now, if there was no official system or formal selection process, how does someone become a male concubine? Usually by chance. Any man could become favored through chance encounters within the palace or during their existing service. They could be low-ranking officials, eunuchs, imperial guards, or even talented entertainers. Their looks, charm, intelligence, or a particular skill might catch the emperor's attention, leading to something more. Unlike female consorts who left their birth family upon entering the palace, male concubines typically maintained their own family units. Becoming a male concubine was a personal relationship with the emperor and did not affect their rights to marry a woman or to have children. They could have wives and children outside the palace, and their newfound imperial favor often brought prestige and wealth to their entire family, not just themselves. While many lived within the imperial palace, especially if they were eunuchs, some would have their own residence outside the palace. On a side note, historical records also provide evidence of female-female relationships within the palace. These records use the term 对食, meaning paired eating, which was initially used to describe intimate relationships between palace maids, and later evolved to also include eunuch and palace maids relationships. As you can see, they were much more open regarding sexuality in the Han Dynasty. More than 10 emperors of the Han Dynasty are recorded to have had male concubines, making it one of the most openly documented periods of same-sex imperial relationships in Chinese history. It all started with the founding emperor of the Han Dynasty, Emperor Gaozu. One of his male concubines was Jiru, who was believed to have started in the palace as an imperial eunuch. Historical records like the Book of Han recorded that Jiru was very pretty and had a knack for flattery, which earned him the emperor's favor. Unlike some other male concubines who used their favor to build power and wealth, Jiru was famous for simply maintaining an intimate relationship with the emperor. It was recorded that Emperor Gaozu sometimes even preferred to cuddle with Jiru instead of handling state affairs. Sometimes, the influence of a male concubine can even set the fashion and trends in the imperial court. During the reign of Emperor Hui, his male concubine Hongru was so favored that many government officials began to imitate his dress and fashion style. Some of these trends included wearing feathers in their hats, applying face powders, and dangling seashells from their clothes. As they say, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Through this imitation, they hoped to catch the emperor's attention or win his favor for themselves. The Han Dynasty is filled with fascinating male concubine stories, but the incredible Emperor Wu of Han definitely had the most recorded male concubines. Known as one of China's most powerful and longest-reigning emperors, Emperor Wu expanded the empire's borders, centralized its bureaucracy, and reshaped Chinese history. But behind his military campaigns and political reforms were a personal life just as complex as his conquests, marked by numerous intimate relationships, both male and female. In my Cold Palace video, I briefly introduced the story of Empress Chen Jiao being banished to a cold palace due to Emperor Wu's newfound favor for Wei Zifu. But wait, it turns out there's even more to that story. Based on his inclusion in the biographies of the emperor's male favorites, some historians believed that Emperor Wu was also romantically interested in Wei Zifu's brother, Wei Qing. While Wei Qing was not directly called a male concubine in historical records, some recorded stories about him and Emperor Wu do support this idea. For example, while Wei Zifu was initially favored by Emperor Wu, records suggest that there was a period of time where she appears to have been forgotten. During this time, it was Wei Qing that saw Emperor Wu on a daily basis. And Emperor Wu even promoted Wei Qing and showered him with many gifts, without any leveraging from Wei Zifu as a favored consort. Maybe there's more tea here that can be made into a separate video. Besides Wei Qing, there is the legendary general Huo Qubing. Huo Qubing has a long list of accomplishments, securing significant victories that greatly expanded the Han Empire and brought stability to the northern borders. Like Wei Qing, Huo Qubing was not directly named as a male concubine, but was listed in the biographies of the emperor's male favorites, leading many to believe that he had an intimate relationship with Emperor Wu. Now, you might be thinking those aren't even proven to be male concubines. Well, we won't ever know for sure. But wait, there's more. Emperor Wu's most significant and possibly favorite male concubine was Han Yan. Han Yan was a childhood friend of Emperor Wu, sharing calligraphy lessons and growing up alongside the future emperor. This early connection formed the basis of a deep adult relationship. Han Yan was known for his beauty, charm, and impressive skills in horseback riding and archery, traits that perfectly suited Emperor Wu's energetic, martial personality. Their closeness was well known. Historical records say they often slept and rose together. With the emperor's favor, Han Yan gained considerable influence and received lavish gifts and honors. But over time, his arrogance started to get out of hand. He reportedly pushed boundaries, even hunting inside forbidden imperial grounds. But what really did him in was a specific scandal. Han Yan was accused of having a private, intimate relationship with Princess Long Lu, Emperor Wu's own sister. This outrageous behavior was a direct violation of court traditions and was quickly reported to Empress Dowager Xiao Jing, who was absolutely furious. Not even Emperor Wu's deep affection could save him, and she directly ordered Han Yan to take his own life. His tragic end is a reminder that even the most favored companion in court lived under constant risk. In the world of imperial power, affection could elevate, but it could never guarantee safety. Another famous male concubine that held Emperor Wu's favor was Li Yannian. Li Yannian was actually an imperial eunuch that came from a family of performers. He captivated Emperor Wu with his exceptional musical talents, securing himself a place in the emperor's heart. It was recorded that he shared the emperor's bed as much as Han Yan. Li Yannian leveraged his favor status to introduce his sister into the palace as an imperial consort. Her beauty also captivated Emperor Wu, establishing a unique family connection that allowed influence to flow through both male and female favor simultaneously. While Emperor Wu had many fascinating relationships, the story of his grandfather, Emperor Wen, shows just how far an emperor's personal favor could go for a male concubine. Emperor Wen was famously known as a frugal and benevolent ruler who focused on stabilizing the empire. But even for such a pragmatic emperor, a truly unusual event would lead him to his favorite male concubine, Deng Tong. According to the Book of Han, Emperor Wen had a dream one night. In this dream, he was trying to ascend to heaven, but couldn't reach it until a man in a yellow hat gave him a final push. Later, while traveling on a river, Emperor Wen spotted a boatman wearing a yellow hat. This was the man from his dream, and the boatman's name was Deng Tong, which in Chinese sounded remarkably like to ascend. Convinced that this was a divine sign, Emperor Wen quickly invited Deng Tong to the imperial palace. For a humble bowman, being noticed by the emperor was an extraordinary opportunity. Deng Tong willingly accepted the emperor's favor, joining him in the palace as his male concubine. Soon after, a fortune teller predicted that Deng Tong would starve to death in poverty, and an alarmed Emperor Wen scoffed at fate. If I can make him rich, how can he starve? He then granted Deng Tong the rights to a massive bronze mine and even the exclusive privilege of minting his own coins. This was an unbelievable economic power, usually only reserved for the central imperial government itself. Deng Tong's coin soon circulated widely throughout the empire, making him one of the wealthiest men alive. But the story gets even more shocking. Emperor Wen became afflicted with painful boils, and in a startling display of devotion, Deng Tong would personally suck the pus from them to relieve the emperor's pain. This act of loyalty deeply moved Emperor Wen, who asked, "Who loves me more than you?" To which Deng Tong humbly replied, "No one other than the crown prince." Unfortunately, this incredible intimacy, favor, and wealth began to breed resentment, especially within the imperial family. According to some accounts, Emperor Wen made the crown prince Liu Qi perform the same act of sucking pus from his boils. The crown prince reportedly gagged and threw up. Emperor Wen saw this as a grave insult. This furthered the crown prince's resentment towards Deng Tong. The moment Emperor Wen died, Deng Tong's world crumbled. Liu Qi was crowned the new Emperor Jing and immediately moved to strip Deng Tong of all his privileges and wealth, while accusing him of illegal financial activities. With nobody left to save him, Deng Tong tragically starved to death in poverty, just as predicted. The story of Emperor Wen and Deng Tong powerfully shows the extent of imperial favor that could be given to a male concubine, but it also clearly describes the vulnerabilities of this position. Because male concubines had no official status or power outside the emperor's personal affection, their entire world could vanish in an instant once that favor disappeared. Among the many male concubines of the Han Dynasty, the story of Emperor Ai and his beloved Dongxian definitely stands out as the most famous. Emperor Ai ascended the throne at a young age and is often characterized by historians as weak and indecisive. However, he was very clear regarding his strong love for his male concubine Dongxian, who was famed for his beauty and charm. Their story began with a simple encounter. According to the Book of Han, Dongxian was serving as a low-ranking official in the imperial court when his beauty caught Emperor Ai's attention. Their love is captured in the famous cut sleeve or Duan Shou story. In this story, Emperor Ai and Dongxian were napping together one afternoon. When Emperor Ai needed to get up, he found Dongxian fast asleep with his head on the emperor's sleeve. Rather than disturb him, Emperor Ai gently cut off the sleeve of his robe, leaving Dongxian undisturbed. An emperor's robe were a symbol of imperial power and dignity, and damaging them was normally a serious offense. But here, it became a romantic gesture. This act became a timeless story for male affection in Chinese history, with the term Duan Shou enduring through history to refer to male love even today. Emperor Ai gave Dongxian incredible honor and wealth, including money, jewels, and priceless artifacts. Emperor Ai even had a fancy private residence built for him outside the main palace. But it didn't stop here. Dongxian's entire family was granted great rewards. His father was promoted to the rank of Marquis, the second highest nobility rank possible. His sister was brought into the palace as a high-ranking consort. Even his wife was granted the honor of being able to enter and leave the palace freely, a rare honor for women, usually reserved for the empress or empress dowager. Within a few years, Dongxian was repeatedly promoted, eventually being named the commander of the armed forces and the prefect of the masters of writing. Yes, you heard that right, both ranks at the same time. This made Dongxian both the head of the imperial military as well as the head of the central administrative government, making him the single most powerful person below the emperor. However, as we all know, with great power comes great responsibility, and Dongxian was sadly not prepared for the vast responsibilities of his absurdly high-ranking positions. According to historical records, he was inexperienced, lacked judgment for state affairs, and was unprepared for the ruthless world of imperial politics. As expected, this extraordinary favoritism led to sweeping resentment from other officials and noble families. They repeatedly complained and petitioned against Dongxian, attacking his inexperienced and unearned positions. But Emperor Ai was unwavering in his devotion, silencing and even punishing those who spoke out. Unfortunately, this imperial protection only continued to deepen the resentment. Finally, things came to a head. Emperor Ai had always had a weak body, was frequently ill, and remained childless. As his body got worse, Emperor Ai became obsessed with securing Dongxian's future after his own passing. In an act that threatened the very foundation of imperial rule, Emperor Ai attempted to name Dongxian as the heir to the throne of the Han Dynasty. He declared, "I wish to abdicate the empire to Dongxian. What do you think?" To which a horrified official responded, "Your Majesty inherited the empire from your ancestors and should pass it on to your descendants. How could you just give it to someone else?" The very thought was unthinkable. Officials and members of the imperial family furiously opposed the idea and prevented it from happening. In 1 BCE, Emperor Ai passed away at the young age of 24. With his passing, Dongxian's imperial protection vanished. The powerful official Wang Mang immediately made his move. He rallied other high-ranking officials to strip Dongxian of all his titles and confiscated all of his wealth. Faced with relentless persecution, Dongxian and his wife were forced to take their own lives. His remains were buried, but some records say that even his tomb was raided and desecrated. This was a tragic testament to the resentment that had built up toward him. Emperor Ai and Dongzhen's dramatic love story shows not only Emperor Ai's deep love, but also how unchecked favoritism could destabilize the entire imperial court. The power vacuum and turmoil surrounding Emperor Ai's favoritism laid the perfect groundwork for Wang Mang's rise to power, ultimately leading to the end of Western Han Dynasty and the formation of Wang Mang's own short-lived Qing Dynasty in 9 CE. The Han Dynasty's unique and relatively open approach to same-sex imperial relationships reveal many fascinating stories. Unfortunately, the lack of official status for male concubines meant that many of their stories ended in tragedy. These powerful and often heartbreaking narratives definitely leaves us with a lot to think about. Let me know your thoughts about these stories in the comments. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to support this channel and help me uncover more fascinating stories from Chinese history, please check out my membership and join as a Noble Baoban. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Stay curious, stay magical.